In the heart of downtown Chicago, flames lick the night sky as Engine 51 screams to a halt. Veteran firefighter Michael Connor sees what others don't. A small hand pressed against a sixth-floor window. 23 years of service taught him one thing: sometimes rules are meant to be broken. Against direct orders, he charges into the Inferno. Through toxic smoke and melting steel, he reaches her. A terrified 8-year-old with eyes that tell a story deeper than fear. They escape, seconds before the building collapses. But when Connor wakes up in the hospital, he realizes saving her was just the beginning. Men in black suits are asking questions. His phone is tapped, and a private army is hunting them both. Before we dive deeper into this story, where are you watching from? And if you're wondering why a billionaire's private military would want a little girl dead, make sure you're subscribed for tomorrow's shocking revelation. The steady beep of medical monitors pulled Michael Connor back to consciousness. Harsh fluorescent lights assaulted his eyes as they fluttered open, revealing the sterile white ceiling of Chicago General's burn unit. His throat felt like he'd swallowed ground glass, standard souvenir from any serious structure fire. Welcome back to the land of the living, hero. The voice belonged to a nurse checking his vitals, her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. Her name tag read, Sarah Martinez. You've been out for almost 18 hours. Connor tried to speak, but only managed a raspy whisper. The girl? Sarah's expression softened as she handed him a cup of ice chips. She's stable. No major burns, mostly smoke inhalation. You got to her just in time. She paused, studying his face, though that's about all anyone seems to know about her. No ID, no family coming forward, and a whole lot of people asking questions. Those words triggered something in Connor's fog-laden memory. Men in dark suits appearing in his room while he drifted in and out of consciousness. He'd assumed they were detectives or fire investigators, standard procedure for any major incident. But their questions hadn't been standard at all. Have you seen any unusual markings on the girl? One had asked. Did she say anything about Project Iris? The memory sent a chill through him despite the warmth of his hospital room. He tried to sit up, ignoring the protest from his bandaged ribs. Easy there, Sarah cautioned, adjusting his bed. You've got second-degree burns on your back and shoulders, and those ribs need time to heal. Need to see her, Connor insisted, his voice stronger now. Something's not right. Sarah glanced at the door, then leaned closer. Listen, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but there are men watching your room. They're not hospital security, and they're definitely not here to protect you. She pulled a small object from behind his IV stand, a listening device, recently planted. I found 3 more like this one. Connor's years as a firefighter had honed his instincts for danger. Right now, those instincts were screaming. He remembered the girl's eyes when he'd found her, not just scared but haunted, like someone who'd seen too much. Sarah, he said quietly, I need your help. Can you get a message to my battalion chief? Jim Reeves at Station 51. She nodded, slipping the bug into her pocket. I'll handle it, but you should know there's something else. The girl's blood work. I've never seen anything like it. The lab ran the tests twice, thinking it was contaminated. It wasn't. A commotion in the hallway cut their conversation short. Heavy footsteps approached, accompanied by the distinct sound of tactical gear shifting, a sound Connor recognized from joint training exercises with SWAT. Sarah moved quickly, dropping his bedrail. Bathroom's through there. Lock the door. She raised her voice as the footsteps neared. Let's get you cleaned up, Mr. Connor. He understood immediately. Years of emergency response had taught him to read between the lines. Whatever was happening, Sarah had just chosen sides. As he limped to the bathroom, each step sending fire through his ribs, Connor heard her cheerfully greeting someone in the room behind him. The bathroom door clicked shut just as multiple sets of boots entered his room. Through the thin door, a new voice spoke, cold, professional, carrying the unmistakable tone of authority. Nurse Martinez, where is Mr. Connor? Getting cleaned up, Sarah replied easily. Hospital policy. We need to check his burns every 4 hours. When he's done, inform him that Director Matthews from the National Security Council needs to speak with him. It's a matter of national security. Connor's mind raced. National Security Council. For a simple fire rescue. He looked around the small bathroom, evaluating options. One small window, probably 6 stories up. No fire escape. His body screaming in protest at even the thought of movement. But somewhere in this hospital was a little girl whose eyes had told him everything he needed to know. She was in danger, and right now he might be the only person standing between her and whatever had put that haunted look in her eyes. Connor had never left anyone behind in a fire. He wasn't about to start. Now, Connor's fingers traced the edge of the bathroom window, searching for weaknesses. His fire service training kicked in, structural assessment, escape routes, risk factors. The drop was steep, but there was a ledge 3 feet below. If he could reach it. A sharp knock interrupted his planning. "Mr. Connor," Sarah's voice carried a subtle warning. "Your bandages need changing." He opened the door carefully. Sarah slipped in, closing it behind her. "They're waiting outside, but I've got something you need to see." She pulled a folded paper from her scrubs. The girl's intake form. "Look at the patient ID." Connor studied the hospital document. Where a patient number should have been, there was only a string of zeros. The admission time was blank. No name, no age, no guardian information. Just a red stamp across the top. Restricted access. Level 7. "This isn't possible," he muttered. "I carried her in myself. She was breathing, crying. She was real." "Oh, she's real, all right," Sarah whispered. "But according to official records, she doesn't exist. And an hour ago, someone tried to access her room with falsified credentials. When security responded, they found this." She pulled out her phone, showing him security footage of a man in scrubs. The image zoomed in on his waistband, the distinctive outline of a concealed weapon. A gentle tap at the door made them both freeze. "Mr. Connor?" A new voice, professional but friendly. "Detective James Wong, Chicago PD. I'd like to ask you a few questions about last night's fire." Connor and Sarah exchanged glances. She mouthed silently, "Back door." He shook his head. The detective wasn't the immediate threat. Those men outside were. And somewhere in this hospital was a little girl who needed him. Time to play this smart. "Coming." "Detective!" Connor called out, then whispered to Sarah. "Find out where they're keeping her. I'll handle this." Detective Wong was younger than Connor expected, early 30s, with the sharp eyes of someone who noticed details. His suit was well cut, but showed signs of a long night. This wasn't just a routine follow-up. "Quite a night," Wong said, pulling out a notebook. "Fire marshal's preliminary report says the blaze started on the 4th floor. But what interests me is the 6th floor where you found the girl. That entire section of the building was supposed to be vacant, under renovation." Connor kept his expression neutral. "Smoke was too thick to see much. I heard a scream, saw a hand on the window. Instinct took over." "Instinct," Wong nodded thoughtfully. 23 years on the job, numerous commendations, specialized rescue training. Your instincts are probably worth listening to. So what are they telling you now? Before Connor could answer, commotion erupted in the hallway. Running feet. Shouted orders, the squawk of radios. Wong's hand moved instinctively toward his hip. Sarah burst through the door, face pale. "She's gone. Someone took her." The words hit Connor like a physical blow. He was moving before he could think, ignoring the pain that flared across his back. Wong caught his arm. "Wait," the detective said sharply. "You're in no condition." "Let go," Connor growled. "I need to find her." "You need to listen," Wong countered, "because right now you're the only person who's seen her up close. And something tells me that makes you either very valuable or very dangerous to some very powerful people." A new alarm began to sound, not the usual hospital codes, but the harsh blare of a security alert. Sarah appeared in the doorway again, breathless. "They're locking down the building." But I saw them, 3 men in tactical gear, taking a small form on a gurney toward the service elevator. She held up a key card. "I can get you there." Connor looked at Wong, measuring him. The detective seemed to come to a decision. "Go," he said, drawing his weapon. "I'll buy you some time. But Connor," he met the firefighter's eyes. "Watch your back. This case, there's something wrong about it. The kind of wrong that gets people killed." Connor nodded grimly. "Sarah, lead the way." They moved quickly through the back corridors of the hospital, Sarah's key card giving them access through restricted areas. Connor's training helped him push through the pain, focusing on the mission. Find the girl. Get her to safety. Figure out the rest later. But with each step, questions multiplied. Who was she? Why were these people after her? And what the hell was Project Iris? The service elevator lay ahead. Sarah swiped her card, but the panel remained dark. "They've locked down the system." "Stairs," Connor said immediately. "How many?" "Floors down, 4. But your injuries don't matter right now." They found the stairwell door, but voices echoed from below, boots on metal stairs moving up. Sarah pulled Connor back, pressing them both against the wall as the sounds grew. "Closer! There's something else," she whispered. "When I was checking the girl's vitals earlier, she grabbed my hand. The monitors, they went crazy, like some kind of electromagnetic pulse, and for a second I swear I could feel—" She shook her head. "It sounds crazy." "What?" Her thoughts, like she was trying to tell me something. "Show me something." Sarah met his eyes. "Whatever's going on, she's not just a normal little girl. And these people, they'll kill to keep that secret." The footsteps were almost upon them now. Connor looked at the steep drop through the stairwell center, then at the window at the end of the hall. Sometimes rules were meant to be broken. Sometimes that was the only way to save a life. He just hoped his body could take one more crazy risk. The Chicago winter air hit Connor like a sledgehammer as he and Sarah emerged onto the maintenance platform. 4 stories up, with tactical teams closing in from both sides. The girl was somewhere below, being rushed into an unmarked van. He could see it idling in the ambulance bay. "There's a service ladder," Sarah pointed. "Maintenance uses it to access the HVAC systems." Connor's burned shoulders screamed in protest as they climbed down. Each movement sent fresh waves of pain through his ribs, but he forced himself to focus. 23 years of running into burning buildings taught you how to push through pain. They reached the ground just as the van's engine revved. Connor sprinted forward, his body running on pure adrenaline. He almost made it. His fingers brushed the van's back door before a sharp impact sent him sprawling. "Stay down!" A woman's voice, authoritative but urgent. Combat boots appeared in his field of vision. "They're not taking her where you think." Connor tried to rise, but the woman pressed him back. She was young, Asian, dressed in black tactical gear that matched their pursuers. But something was different. Her gear had no insignias, no identifying marks. "Name's Riley Chen," she said quickly. "I'm with a group trying to expose Project Iris. That van's heading to a safe house, our safe house. The girl will be protected there." She helped Connor up as Sarah reached them. "But right now we need to move. Those men up there, they shoot to kill." As if to emphasize her point, bullets sparked off the pavement near their feet. Riley led them to a maintenance door, swiping a security card that shouldn't have worked, but did. "How did you—" Sarah began. "I wrote the hospital's security protocols," Riley said, leading them through a maze of utility tunnels. "Then I found out what they were really being used for. Been working to bring them down ever since." "Them who?" Connor demanded, but he was starting to piece it together. The tactical teams, the high-level security clearance, the advanced technology. "Government?" Riley's laugh was bitter. "Worse, private military contractors, specifically Neurotech's operational division. They're a tech company that went way off the reservation. Started with neural interface research, ended up playing God." She stopped at a heavy door, entering a complex code. The girl you saved, she's proof of what they've been doing, and now you're both loose ends." The door opened to reveal a hidden command center. Banks of monitors showed security feeds from across the city. A wall of servers hummed quietly, and in the center a familiar face. Detective Wong. "Glad you made it." Wong nodded to them. "Welcome to the Resistance." Connor's firefighter training had taught him to size up situations quickly, to look for signs of danger or safety. The setup here was professional but hastily assembled. These people were organized but operating on the fly. Most importantly, they were scared. "The girl," Connor insisted. "I need to see her." "Soon," Riley promised, moving to a computer terminal. "But first, you need to understand what you're involved in. Because after what I'm about to show you, your life will never be the same." She inserted a thumb drive, and the monitors came alive with project files, medical data, and surveillance footage. Connor's breath caught as he saw familiar faces, the men from his hospital room, the tactical teams. But it was the research data that made his blood run cold. Project Iris, Riley explained, wasn't about neural interfaces. That was just the cover. They were trying to create something else, enhanced humans, children with abilities that blur. The line between technology and telepathy. Your girl, she's patient zero, the first success. Sarah stepped forward, her medical training evident in her questions. "The blood work, the electromagnetic interference, it's all connected." "It's more than connected," Wong added. "It's evolving. Each subject they created showed stronger abilities, more control. But there were problems. Ethical scientists quit. Test subjects died. And then—" "She escaped," Connor finished, remembering the haunted look in the girl's eyes. "That fire wasn't an accident, was it?" Riley shook her head. "She started it, not intentionally. The abilities are linked to emotional states. Fear, panic, they trigger surges of power. Neurotech's been trying to recapture her for weeks. You just happened to run into the middle of their operation." A new alarm sounded from one of the monitors. Riley's fingers flew across the keyboard. "They're tracking us. Somehow they—" Her eyes widened. "Connor, your bandages. Let me see them." He pulled back his hospital gown, revealing the white gauze. Under Sarah's careful hands they found it, a tiny tracker, no bigger than a grain of rice. "Standard medical equipment," Sarah breathed. "We use them to monitor patient vitals. But this one's different." "Military grade," Riley confirmed, already moving to another terminal. "They've been watching everything. We need to—" The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. Wong drew his weapon. "We've got company," he said grimly. "Riley, get that data backed up." "Sarah, Connor, there's an exit tunnel, leads to the L tracks. The safe house is—" The first explosion cut him off, rocking the entire room. As smoke began to fill the air, Connor felt an old, familiar clarity settle over him. This was what he was trained for. This was what he did. "Sarah, help Riley with the data," he ordered, falling into rescue mode. "Wong, cover the main entrance. I'll get the tunnel ready." He turned to Riley. "The girl, where exactly is this safe house?" Riley hesitated, then made a decision. She handed him a phone. "Encrypted. Address is in the Notes app. But Connor—" She met his eyes. "If they take her back, what they'll do to her. Sometimes death is better." He pocketed the phone as another explosion shook the room. "Not on my watch." The battle was about to begin, and this time Connor knew exactly what he was fighting for. Sometimes saving a life meant more than just pulling someone from a fire. Sometimes it meant going to war. The safe house was an abandoned fire station in Bronzeville. Irony Connor didn't miss. He found his badge in a dusty locker, Engine 27, decommissioned 3 years ago during budget cuts. Now it served a different kind of rescue mission. The girl sat cross-legged on an old bunk, clutching a singed teddy bear someone had recovered from the hospital. She looked up as Connor entered, those unnaturally wise eyes studying him. No fear this time, just careful assessment. "I'm Michael," he said softly, keeping his distance. But most people call me Connor. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. I saw you. In the fire. You weren't afraid. Part of the job. He eased himself onto a nearby chair, ribs protesting. Want to tell me your name? She hugged the bear tighter. They called me Seven. But before, a long time ago, I think I was Emma. Emma. The name hit Connor hard. His daughter would have been about her age if she'd lived. The drunk driver who took her and Connor's wife had left him with nothing but his job and a hollow place where his heart used to be. Emma's a beautiful name, he managed. Listen, I know you're scared, but you're safe here. No one's safe. Her. Eyes unfocused slightly. They're always watching, always listening in here. She tapped her temple. Sarah appeared in the doorway, medical bag in hand. Mind if I check your vitals, Emma? Promise, I'll be quick. The girl, Emma, nodded, but her eyes stayed on Connor. As Sarah worked, the old fire station's equipment began to act strangely. The ancient radio crackled to life, spitting static. Light bulbs flickered. It's okay, Sarah soothed. Just try to stay calm. Remember what Riley showed you about breathing. Emma closed her eyes, inhaling slowly. The electronic disturbances settled. When she opened them again, tears glistened. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, she whispered, in the apartment, but they were coming, and I got scared, and then everything just burned. Connor moved closer, instinct overriding caution. Hey, look at me. I've been running into fires for 23 years. Know what I've learned? Sometimes things burn because they need to, because it's the only way to make things right. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. You sound like Dr. Anders. She tried to help us, to stop the bad tests, but then she disappeared. Sarah and Connor exchanged looks. Another piece of the puzzle. Emma, Sarah said gently, can you tell us more about Dr. Anders, or about the other children? The lights flickered again. They're like me, but different. Some can move things, some can see through walls. Jason could make people do things, bad things. Her voice dropped. They hurt him for that. Said he was unstable. Connor's fists clenched. Children. They'd been experimenting on children. A sudden banging from downstairs made them all jump. Riley's voice carried up. We've got company, 3 minutes. Connor was moving instantly. Years of emergency response. Taking over. Sarah, get her to the backup location. I'll hold them. No! Emma grabbed his arm. The contact was like touching a live wire. Images flooded his mind. Fire, pain, a sterile lab. Faces behind surgical masks. And fear, bone-deep, primal fear. Don't leave, she pleaded. They'll hurt you like they hurt Dr. Anders. The teddy bear levitated slightly, along with several other objects in the room. Sarah backed away, but Connor held his ground. Emma, look at me. Focus on my voice. He put every ounce of calm authority he'd learned as a rescue veteran into his words. No one's leaving you, but I need you to trust us. Can you do that? The floating object settled. Emma nodded slowly. Good girl. Now my friend Sarah's going to take you somewhere safe. I'll be right behind you, I promise. Just like in the fire, remember? I didn't leave you then. Boots thundered on the stairs. Riley appeared, face flushed. They've got the block surrounded. Thermal imaging. Signal. Jammers the works. Options? Connor demanded. The tunnels, Sarah suggested. Old coal chutes. Every building this age has them. Riley was already checking building schematics on her tablet. Got it. Northwest corner, behind the old boiler. But we've got maybe 90 seconds before the windows exploded inward. Smoke grenades rolled across the floor, filling the air with thick grey clouds. Through the chaos, Connor heard Emma scream, not in fear, but in rage. The smoke froze, literally froze, ice crystals forming in mid-air. The grenades stopped hissing, encased in frost, and there stood Emma, eyes glowing with an inner light, one hand extended. "Run!" she said, her voice oddly doubled. "I can hold them." "Not without you," Connor replied firmly. He scooped her up, ignoring his protesting ribs. "Sarah, Riley, move!" They raced for the boiler room, the sound of boots and shouted orders close behind. Emma trembled in Connor's arms, her power radiating in waves that made his teeth ache. Every electronic device they passed went haywire, lights exploding, phones shorting out. "Almost there," Riley called. "But that tunnel's been sealed for decades. We need—" Emma raised her hand again. The ancient coal chute door tore free with a screech of tortured metal, revealing a dark passage beyond. The effort sent her limp in Connor's arms. Sarah checked her pulse, face worried. "She's burning up, these power surges. They're taking a toll." Then we moved fast. Connor shifted Emma's weight, gentler now. "Riley, cover our six. Sarah, lead the way. And somebody better tell Wong where. To find us, because I have a feeling we're going to need all the help we can get." As they disappeared into the darkness, Connor felt Emma stir. "You promised," she mumbled. "In the fire. You promised they wouldn't hurt me again." "That's right, kiddo." He held her closer, feeling the unnatural heat of her small body. "And I keep my promises." Behind them, orders were being shouted, lights' beams swept the darkness. But ahead lay hope, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to make things right. Connor had spent his career saving people from fires. Now he was starting one, a fire that would burn straight to the heart of Neurotech, and hopefully cleanse the rot he'd found there. Some fires, after all, needed to burn. The underground tunnel opened into an abandoned subway maintenance station. Riley's flashlight beam revealed old tools, dust-covered workbenches, and decades of urban decay. But it was the wall of servers humming in the corner that caught Connor's attention. This was no ordinary hideout. "Welcome to the real resistance," Riley said, powering up systems. Banks of monitors flickered to life, showing security feeds from across Chicago. Neurotech's not just in the neural enhancement business. They've got their fingers in everything: private military contracts, surveillance systems, behavioral modification research. Emma stirred in Connor's arms, fever finally breaking. Sarah helped settle her onto a cot while checking vital signs. "They're going to find us," Emma whispered, eyes still closed. "Mr. Wong is telling them." Connor froze. "What do you mean?" "I can see him. In my head." Her face scrunched in concentration. "He's in a big room. Glass windows. Men in suits. He's showing them pictures of us." Riley's fingers flew across keyboards, pulling up camera feeds. "Got him. Neurotech corporate headquarters, 47th floor. That's Marcus Sterling's office, CEO and chief architect of Project Iris." The footage showed Wong standing before a wall of windows, speaking to a silver-haired man in an expensive suit. Security guards lined the walls, and on a large screen behind them, surveillance photos tracked their escape route. "I trusted him," Connor growled, but Riley held up a hand. "Wait. Look at his left hand," Connor watched. Wong was subtly tapping his fingers against his leg. "A pattern. Morse code," Riley translated, eyes narrowing. "Safe, following plan, target secure. He's still with us. Or he's playing both sides," Sarah countered, protective hand on Emma's shoulder. A new voice spoke from the shadows. "Neither, actually." They spun to find a woman emerging from a hidden door, mid-50s, graying hair, wearing a lab coat that had seen better days. "Detective Wong is doing exactly what I trained him to do, getting close to Sterling." Emma sat bolt upright. "Dr. Anders," the scientist moved quickly to Emma's side, checking her over with practiced hands. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I never wanted any of this for you. You're supposed to be dead," Riley said flatly. "Sterling showed us the body. He showed you what he wanted you to see." Dr. Anders's voice was bitter, just like he shows the world what he wants them to see. A philanthropist, a visionary, a man pushing the boundaries of human potential. She stroked Emma's hair. "Not the monster who authorized experiments on children." Connor stepped forward. "Start talking. The full story. Now." Dr. Anders nodded slowly. Project Iris began as legitimate research into neural enhancement, helping Stroke victims, treating PTSD, that sort of thing. But Sterling, he saw other applications, military applications, and when we discovered certain genetic markers that made some children more receptive to the neural interfaces, he started recruiting, Sarah finished, medical horror dawning on her face. Those kids, their families, were told they were entering an advanced treatment program. Dr. Anders's hands shook. By the time I realized what was really happening, Sterling had already moved to human trials. Emma was the first. Her abilities manifested stronger than anyone expected. And then, Jason, Emma whispered, he made the bad men hurt themselves. Sterling saw the potential for weapons, Dr. Anders continued. Imagine children who could control minds, manipulate energy, access any computer system with a thought, but the process was flawed. The powers were tied to emotional states, unstable, dangerous. Riley's computers suddenly erupted with alerts. We've got movement. Multiple tactical teams converging on the financial district. They're mobilizing everything. Wong, Connor realized. His cover's blown. No, Emma said, that otherworldly doubling entering her voice again. It's a trap. They're not looking for him. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly. They found Dr. Anders's signal. They're coming here. Gunfire erupted from the tunnel they'd used to enter. Sarah grabbed her medical bag, already moving. We need an exit plan. The old maintenance shaft. Dr. Anders pointed. It connects to the storm drainage system, but Emma's too weak to... I can do it. The girl stood, unsteady but determined. But I need help, all of you, like before in the fire station. Connor remembered the frozen smoke, the raw power she'd displayed. It nearly killed you last time. Trust me. She held out her small hand. Please. A crash echoed from the tunnel. Tactical teams were breaching. Connor looked at the others. Sarah's determination, Riley's calculated focus, Dr. Anders's guilt, and resolve. They all nodded. They joined hands, forming a circle around Emma. The air began to crackle with invisible energy. Computer screens flickered wildly, then shattered. The very concrete seemed to vibrate. Hold on, Emma whispered, her voice growing stronger. And whatever happens, don't let go. The world exploded into light. Connor came to with the taste of ozone in his mouth, and every hair on his body standing on end. The maintenance station was in ruins, concrete cracked, electronics fried, support beams twisted like modern art. But they weren't there anymore. Somehow, impossibly, they were in the middle of an abandoned subway platform. Everyone alive? He croaked, pushing himself up. Sarah was already checking Emma, who lay unconscious but breathing steadily. Riley worked on a battered laptop, the only piece of electronics that had survived. Dr. Anders leaned against a pillar, looking shaken but alert. She teleported us, Dr. Anders said quietly. We theorized it was possible, but the energy requirements, the neural load... Will she be okay? Connor moved to Emma's side, noting her pale face, the dark circles under her eyes. Physically, yes. Sarah's medical training showed in her precise movements. But these powers, they're changing her. Her neural patterns, body temperature, even her cellular structure, it's all in flux. Riley's laptop beeped. Got a signal. Wong's alive, he... She stopped, face hardening. We've got bigger problems. Sterling's called in everything. Private military contractors, corrupted police units, even some government assets. They're locking down the city. Looking for us? Connor asked. Looking for her. Dr. Anders nodded toward Emma. What she just did, it proves Sterling's theories, proves these abilities can be weaponized. He'll burn Chicago to the ground to get her back. A small hand gripped Connor's. Emma's eyes fluttered open, still glowing faintly. Not just me, she whispered. The others, in the lab. We have to help them. Connor exchanged looks with the team. Sarah, who'd risked her career to protect a patient. Riley, whose technical skills had kept them ahead of pursuit. Dr. Anders, carrying the weight of her involvement in Project Iris. Where? He asked simply. Neurotech's real research facility, Dr. Anders replied. Hidden under their corporate headquarters. 30 children, all with different abilities, all being trained or broken into weapons. Security, Riley was already typing. Heavy, multiple layers of biometric scanning, armed patrols, experimental defense systems, and... Dr. Anders hesitated. Other subjects, the ones whose modifications went wrong. Sterling keeps them as guards. Emma shuddered. The Dark Ones. They hunt by feeling your thoughts. A distant explosion rattled the tunnel. Riley's laptop showed multiple targets converging on their location. They're herding us, Connor realized, using the subway system to limit our options, driving us toward the river, Riley finished. There's a neurotech facility there, supposedly a data center, but a trap, Sarah said. They're not trying to capture Emma. They're using her to lead them to us, to Dr. Anders, to everything she knows. Connor felt the weight of his old badge in his pocket. 23 years of running into danger while others ran out. 23 years of making impossible choices. So we spring the trap. His voice carried the authority of countless emergency scenes. But on our terms, Emma stood shakily. I can help. Not like before, but different. The Dark Ones hunt by sensing thoughts, but that works both ways. Dr. Anders started to object, but Emma cut her off. I'm tired of running, tired of being afraid. You taught us to control our powers, to be careful, but you also taught us to help people. That's what heroes do, right? She looked at Connor, like firefighters. Another explosion, closer now. Riley's laptop showed tactical teams spreading through the tunnels, methodically cutting off escape routes. We need a plan, Sarah said. Something they won't expect. Connor smiled grimly. Oh, they expect a plan. They expect us to be clever, to try something sophisticated. That's why we're going to do something completely insane instead. What did you have in mind? Riley asked. We're going to walk right through their front door. He turned to Emma. Can you still sense Wong? She closed her eyes briefly. Yes. He'd worried, but ready. Good, because we're about to give Sterling exactly what he wants. A chance to get all his problems in one place. Connor looked at each of them. Which means we only get one shot at this. If we're going to burn it all down, we do it right. Dr. Anders nodded slowly. The children in the lab, if we could reach them, coordinate with them. Already on it, Riley said, fingers flying across her keyboard. Tapping into their internal systems. If we can get Emma close enough, I can wake them up, Emma finished. Help them remember who they are. Before the bad tests, before they made us forget. Sarah began unpacking her medical bag, laying out supplies with practiced efficiency. We'll need to be ready for casualties, both sides. The tunnel shook again. Through the gloom, they could see flashlight beams approaching. The net was closing. Connor checked his burns, his ribs. Everything hurt, but that didn't matter now. What mattered was the small hand holding his, the trust in those two old eyes. Stay close to Sarah, he told Emma. Riley, you're our eyes and ears. Dr. Anders, time to face your demons. She squared her shoulders. More than ready. Emma suddenly stiffened. They're here, the Dark Ones, 3 of them. Her voice trembled. They're in pain. So much pain. Connor squeezed her hand. Then let's end it. All of it. They moved into formation as heavy footsteps approached. Somewhere above, Sterling sat in his glass office, thinking he was the puppet master. Time to show him what happened when the puppets cut their strings. Emma's eyes began to glow again, softer this time, more controlled. Ready? Connor thought of his daughter, of all the children like her he couldn't save. But this time would be different. This time, the fire would purify instead of destroy. Ready? The Dark Ones moved like shadows given form, their movements unnaturally fluid. Connor counted 3 distinct shapes in the tunnel's gloom, but something about them seemed wrong, as if they weren't quite solid. They were the first attempts, Dr. Anders whispered. before we understood the proper neural integration protocols. Their bodies, their minds. Emma stepped forward before anyone could stop her. "I see you," she said softly. "I feel your pain." The shadows hesitated. In the flickering emergency lights, Connor caught glimpses of what had once been human faces, now twisted by failed experiments. But their eyes, God, their eyes were still human, filled with agony and confusion. "Sterling did this to you," Emma continued. "Made you forget who you were. Made you hunt your own kind." She held out her small hand. "Let me help you remember." "Emma, don't—" Dr. Anders started, but it was too late. The girl's power reached out, visible now as ripples in the air. The Dark Ones convulsed, their shadowy forms wavering, and then, impossibly, they began to solidify, features sharpened, becoming more human. "Their names," Emma said, strain evident in her voice. "James, Melissa, David. They were the first, before me, before the others." The transformed figures dropped to their knees, gasping. They looked almost normal now, except for the silver sheen to their skin and the lingering darkness in their eyes. "Oh, God!" The woman, Melissa, sobbed. "What did they make us do?" "The children we hunted." "Not your fault," Emma assured them, swaying slightly. Sarah caught her before she could fall. "Sterling controlled you, like he tried to control all of us." Riley's laptop chirped urgently. "More teams incoming. Whatever we're doing, we need to move." Connor made a quick decision. "James, Melissa, David, can you still access Neurotech's security systems? Still sense their tactical teams?" The three looked at each other, then nodded. James spoke, his voice rough from disuse. They're herding something else toward us. Something like us, but wrong. More failed experiments," Dr. Anders said grimly. "Sterling keeps the most dangerous ones in reserve, uses them as a last resort." Emma suddenly clutched her head. No, not him, not Jason." The name hit like a physical blow. Connor remembered Emma's words about the boy who could control minds, who'd made men hurt themselves. Sterling couldn't control him, Dr. Anders explained quickly. Couldn't contain his abilities, so they broke his mind, turned him into something else. "How long?" Connor demanded. 10 minutes, maybe less," Riley answered, checking feeds. "Wong's trying to slow them down, but..." A scream echoed through the tunnels. "Not human, not animal, but something in between." Emma pressed her hands to her ears. "He's so angry," she whispered, "so lost. I can feel him burning." Connor looked at their small group. 3 reformed Dark Ones, a doctor carrying guilt like armor, a nurse who'd risked everything to help, a tech expert running out of tricks, and a little girl whose power was reshaping reality itself. "We need to split up," he said. "Dr. Anders, take James and Melissa to the lab. Free those kids. Riley, patch into their systems. Give them cover. Sarah, David, you're with me and Emma." "The original plan," Riley started, "just changed. If Jason's loose, Sterling's lost control. That means he's desperate." Connor checked the tunnel branches. "Emma, can you sense the other children? The ones still in the lab?" She nodded, eyes unfocused. "They're scared, waiting, like I was before the fire, before a firefighter broke protocol to save a life. Sometimes rules had to burn." "Riley, what's the fastest route to the lab?" She projected a map on the tunnel wall. "Service shaft. C7 connects to their sub-level. But the security won't be a problem." Emma's voice carried that otherworldly resonance again. "Not anymore." The 3 former Dark Ones straightened, a silent understanding passing between them. James spoke. "We'll clear the way. It's time to make this right." Another Inhuman scream, closer now. Emma trembled, but her voice stayed steady. "Jason's in pain." Like they were. She looked up at Connor. "We have to help him too." Connor felt the weight of the decision. The tactical choice would be to neutralize the threat. The safe choice would be to run. But looking into Emma's eyes, he saw something that transcended tactics and safety. He saw hope. "Okay. New plan. Dr. Anders, Riley, get to the lab. James, Melissa, clear their path. David, you're our early warning system. Sarah, stay close to Emma. I'll handle Jason. Handle him. Sarah's medical instincts surfaced. Connor, he's just a child. Exactly. He thought of his own lost daughter, of all the times he'd reached into fire to save a life. That's why we save him. Emma took his hand. Images flooded his mind. Jason before the experiments, laughing with other children, playing, human. I can reach him, she said. Like I reached them. She nodded toward the former Dark Ones. But I need you with me. Need your strength. The tunnel shook with approaching footsteps. Time was running out. One question, Connor said to Dr. Anders. The full truth. What happens to these kids if their powers keep growing? What happens to Emma? The scientist's face fell. The neural changes. They're exponential. Eventually, their human consciousness won't be able to contain the energy. They'll either burn out or transcend, Emma finished calmly, like stars being born. Connor looked at her, really looked, past the frightened child to the being of pure potential beneath, the power to reshape reality, to rewrite the rules of what was possible, and she still chose compassion, still wanted to save everyone, even those who'd hurt her. Maybe that's what made her human. Maybe that's what they had to fight to preserve. All right, he said finally, let's go save the world. The tunnel filled with silver light as the former Dark Ones took point. Behind them, Emma walked with quiet purpose, her small hand still in. Connor's ahead lay monsters and miracles. Time to find out which was which. The tunnels beneath Chicago had become a war room. Riley's mobile command center hummed with activity as resistance members, former Neurotech employees, whistleblowers, and sympathetic law enforcement gathered around makeshift workstations. On the main screen, Detective Wong's face looked grim. Sterling's called in every marker he has, Wong reported. Private security firms, corrupt officials, even black ops teams that officially don't exist. They're not just hunting you anymore. They're preparing for war. Connor watched Emma working with the former Dark Ones in a corner of the room. Under Sarah's supervision, she was helping them recover more of their humanity, their memories. Each success made her stronger, more controlled. How long until they find us? Connor asked. They already know where you are, Wong answered. They're waiting. Something about neural energy readings reaching critical mass. Sterling scientists think I'm about to transcend, Emma said quietly. Everyone turned to find her standing behind them, eyes glowing softly. They're right. Dr. Anders moved forward, medical tablet in hand. Emma, your neural patterns are evolving exponentially. The energy readings show that I'm changing. Emma's voice carried that strange resonance again. But not like they think. Not like Jason. At the mention of his name, the monitors flickered. Somewhere in the city above, Sterling's broken weapon waited, radiating pain and rage that Emma felt like physical waves. He's calling the others, she continued, the ones still in the lab. They feel him too. Riley's hands flew across keyboards. Confirmed, massive power fluctuations in the Neurotech facility. The other subjects are responding. Can you reach them? Connor asked Emma. Like you reached the Dark Ones. She nodded slowly. They're scared, confused. The doctors, they make them forget who they are, keep them weak. But Jason's anger is waking them up. Sarah reviewed medical data on her tablet. These neural changes. Emma, every time you use your powers this way, it accelerates the process. If you keep pushing, I'll burn out. Emma said it calmly, accepting. Or become something else, I know. Connor knelt before her. There has to be another way. There isn't. But it's okay. She touched his hand, sharing images. The other children, their potential, their pain. Sometimes a fire has to burn so new things can grow. The former Dark Ones approached, led by Melissa. We can help. The neural network. We're still connected to it. Through us, Emma can reach the others without burning herself out. Like a signal booster, Riley mused, already modifying equipment. We could... Multiple alarms cut her off. Wong's, His face showed new urgency. Sterling's making his move. He's activated some kind of failsafe in the lab subject's neural implants. They're... Oh, God! Emma screamed, clutching her head. The Dark Ones dropped to their knees. Every electronic device in the room went haywire. He's hurting them! Emma's voice cracked with pain and fury. Making them fight each other. Connor caught her as she stumbled. Emma, don't. You're not strong enough to... I have to try. Power radiated from her invisible waves. They're calling for help, like I called for help in the fire. The ground trembled. Concrete cracked. And in Emma's eyes, Connor saw something both terrible and beautiful. The birth of a star, just as Dr. Anders had warned. Riley, he ordered, patch us into the lab security feeds. Sarah, monitor their vital signs. Dr. Anders, what happens if we link all of them together? All their powers? The scientist's eyes widened. Theoretically, a neural network that, large, could rewrite the rules of what's possible. But the strain would be shared, Melissa finished. Through us. Through all of us. Emma stood straighter, power still coursing around her. I can feel them. James, David, the others, they're ready. Wong's voice crackled through the chaos. Sterling sending in Jason. Whatever you're going to... It has to be now, Connor finished. He looked at each member of their unlikely alliance. The nurse who'd chosen compassion over career. The tech expert fighting corporate corruption. The scientist seeking redemption. The broken ones healing themselves, and the little girl who'd started it all with a cry for help in a burning building. Emma, he said softly, what do you need? She took his hand, and the power surged between them. Just don't let go. The room exploded with silver light as the Dark Ones linked hands, forming a circle. Riley's computers synchronized, creating a web of energy and information. Dr. Anders and Sarah monitored vital signs that were rapidly exceeding human norms. And at the center of it all, Emma began to glow like a newborn sun. I see them, she whispered, all of them, their pain, their power, their humanity. Her voice took on layers of others, speaking through her. We see you too, Jason, we're coming to help. Above them, the city of Chicago held its breath, unaware that beneath its streets, reality itself was about to change. Sometimes a fire had to burn, and sometimes, from the ashes, miracles emerged. Detective James Wong stood in Marcus Sterling's office, watching tactical teams deploy across Chicago's financial district. Behind him, Sterling paced like a caged animal, his usual corporate polish cracking under pressure. Neural readings are off the charts. Sterling snapped at his science team. How is this possible? The failsafe should have terminated their connection. Wong's hand brushed the recording device in his pocket. Every confession, every order, every illegal operation, all documented. But none of it would matter if they couldn't stop what was coming. Sir, a technician called out. Subject 7's power signature. It's changing, growing exponentially. And the others are linking to her somehow. Sterling grabbed the hapless man's collar. Then sever the connection. Send in the asset. Jason, Wong said quietly. The boy has a name. Sterling turned, really looking at him for the first time. Excuse me, detective. His name is Jason Chen. Age 11. Parents killed in a car accident after they started asking questions about your advanced learning program. Wong's voice stayed professionally neutral even as he drew his weapon. Just like Dr. Anders was supposed to have died in a lab accident when she discovered what you were really doing. Understanding dawned in Sterling's eyes. How long? Long enough. Wong's badge felt heavy. 20 years on the force, and this might be the first time he was truly serving justice. You're under arrest, Mr. Sterling, for kidnapping, human experimentation, conspiracy. Sterling laughed, a cold sound. Detective, look around you. Do you really think that badge means anything here? I own this city. The mayor, the commissioner, judges, maybe. Wong activated the recording device, sending the files to every major news outlet and law enforcement agency simultaneously. But can you own the truth? Alarms blared. On the security monitors, Emma's silver light began spreading through the underground tunnels, reaching toward the surface. Sterling's smile turned predatory. You have no idea what you've done, what she's becoming. Subject 7 isn't just another experiment. She's the key to transcendence. And now, he pressed a button on his desk. Now you get to watch everything burn. Security feeds showed Jason being released from containment. The boy's form was barely human anymore, crackling with dark energy that corrupted everything it touched. The perfect weapon, Sterling said proudly. Pure power, unconstrained by conscience or control. He'll tear through their little resistance. Like tissue paper, Wong's earpiece crackled. Connor's voice, Wong, if you can hear this, Emma's ready. Whatever Sterling's planning, it's done, Wong replied, keeping his gun trained on Sterling. Files are out, but Jason, God, Connor, what they did to him. Through the office windows, Chicago's sky began to glow with unnatural light. The air itself seemed to vibrate with building power. Sterling pressed another button, speaking into a comm system. Release final containment protocols. All assets deployed. Primary target is Subject 7. Secondary targets. The glass wall exploded inward as something hit the building with devastating force. When the dust cleared, Emma floated outside the shattered window, surrounded by a nimbus of silver energy. Behind her, the former Dark Ones hovered like avenging angels. "Hello, Mr. Sterling," Emma said, her voice carrying the echoes of countless others. "I think it's time we talked about Project Iris." Sterling reached for another button, but Wong was faster. The CEO's hand exploded in pain as the detective's shot found its mark. "That's enough," Wong said firmly. "No more children, no more weapons." But Sterling was laughing again, blood dripping from his ruined hand. "You still don't understand. This was never about weapons. It was about evolution, advancement, pushing humanity past its limitations." He stared at Emma with fevered eyes. "Look at her. Pure potential, unfettered by moral constraints or human weakness." "You're wrong," Emma said simply. "My humanity isn't weakness. It's why I'm here, to save everyone. Even Jason. Even you." The building shook as something massive approached. Through the broken window, they could see Jason rising from street level, his form a writhing mass of darkness and pain. "Kill them all," Sterling commanded. "Burn it down! Burn everything!" Jason screamed, a sound of pure anguish that shattered every window for blocks. But Emma didn't flinch. "I see you, brother," she said softly. "I feel your pain. Let me help you remember who you are." She reached out, silver light meeting darkness. For a moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Then Jason's scream changed, became human again. The darkness around him began to crack, showing glimpses of the boy beneath. "No!" Sterling lunged for his desk, reaching for one final control panel. "If I can't have my transcendence, then nobody." Wong's second shot took him in the shoulder, spinning him away from the controls, but not before he'd activated something. Warning lights flashed throughout the building. Neural containment failing. A computerized voice announced, "Critical meltdown imminent. This facility will self-destruct in 10 minutes. Emma's light pulsed brighter. "Connor, Dr. Anders, the other children, get them out. I'll hold the breakdown as long as I can." Emma, "No!" Wong started forward, but silver energy held him back. "It's okay, Detective," she smiled, looking more like a normal little girl than he'd ever seen her. "Sometimes the fire has to burn, but this time we choose how." As Wong and his tactical teams began evacuating the building, he glanced back one last time. Emma floated in the night sky, a beacon of hope above the city. Around her, silver light spread like wings. The transcendent Sterling wanted was coming, but not on his terms, not as a weapon or an evolution, as redemption. The Neurotech building was coming apart at the seams. Through the chaos of evacuation alarms and crumbling infrastructure, Connor ran with Sarah toward the sublevels where Dr. Anders was freeing the remaining children. "Connor," Riley's voice crackled through their comms. "Emma's neural readings, they're going critical. She can't hold the facility's meltdown much longer." Above them, through shattered windows, they could see Emma suspended in the night sky. Silver light poured from her small form, containing the building's failing systems through sheer force of will. Beside her, Jason floated in a cocoon of the same energy, his darkness slowly being purged. "How many kids are still down there?" Connor demanded, shouldering through a damaged security door. 17, Dr. Anders responded, breathless. "We're moving them out through the emergency tunnels, but some are too weak to walk. The experiments, what they did to them." Sarah grabbed Connor's arm as they reached the lab level. "Look, the scene was something from a nightmare. Children in medical gowns were being helped or carried toward the exits by resistance members. Some showed visible mutations, altered skin, glowing eyes, limbs that weren't quite human. All bore the haunted look Connor remembered from Emma's eyes in the fire. "This way," Dr. Anders waved them toward a secured ward. "The critical cases are through here. We need—" The building shook violently. Above them, Emma's light flickered. "Her body temperature's spiking," Sarah reported, checking a medical tablet linked to Emma's vitals. "Brain activity off the charts. Connor, she's burning up." "No," Emma's voice echoed through their comms, strained but determined. "Not yet. Have to hold it together. The children, we've got them, Emma," Connor assured her, even as he and Sarah rushed to help with the evacuations. "Just hold on a little longer." But Riley's next transmission shattered that hope. New problem. Sterling's failsafe. It's not just a self-destruct. The whole facility is rigged with an experimental EMP. If it goes off— The neural implants, Dr. Anders finished, horror dawning. "A surge that size would fry their neural connections, kill them all instantly." Connor looked at the children they were trying to save, then up at Emma's glowing form. An impossible choice. "How long?" he asked Riley. 4 minutes until full meltdown." Emma's holding it back, but static interrupted the transmission. "Her power, it's changing her fast." One of the children they were evacuating suddenly grabbed Connor's hand. A boy, no more than 10, with silver-streaked hair. "We can feel her," he said. "She's becoming like starlight." "Connor." Emma's voice was fainter now. "I know what I have to do." "No." He recognized that tone, the same one he'd used 23 years ago, telling his wife and daughter he'd be home soon. Just one more fire to fight. "We'll find another way." "There isn't time." Simple. Certain. "The EMP, I can contain it. Channel it. But—" "It'll kill you," Sarah protested. "I'm already changing, but this way I choose. This way I save everyone." Dr. Anders stepped forward. "Emma, listen to me. The neural network you've created, linking all the children together. If you channel that much power through it, they'll be free," Emma finished. "The implants will burn out safely. No more control, no more pain. Just freedom." The building groaned. Support beams buckled. Through the windows, they could see Emma's light growing brighter, taking on an otherworldly quality. "Connor?" Her voice was so young suddenly, so human. "Are you there?" "Right here, kiddo." His throat felt tight. "I promised I wouldn't leave you. I need you to make me another promise." Static crackled through the comms as her power interfered with electronics. "Promise you'll take care of them, all of them, like you tried to take care of me." Memory hit him like a physical blow, his daughter's voice, just as small, just as brave. Sometimes the fire had to burn. "I promise," he whispered. Sarah's tablet showed Emma's vital signs going crazy. Brain activity surging beyond measurable levels, temperature approaching impossible numbers. 90 seconds, Riley warned. Connor looked at Dr. Anders, at Sarah, at the children watching with glowing eyes. "No time for democracy, no time for debate. Get them out," he ordered. "All of them. I'm going up." "Connor, you can't—" Sarah started. "I made a promise." His voice carried 2 decades of authority. "In that fire I promised she wouldn't die alone. Now move!" As the evacuation continued below, Connor ran for the stairs. Behind him, he heard Sarah organizing the medical response, heard Dr. Anders directing the resistance, heard Riley coordinating their escape routes. But ahead, through broken windows and settling dust, he saw only silver light and a little girl's silhouette against the Chicago sky. Sometimes rules had to burn, sometimes promises had to be kept, and sometimes the hardest part of being a hero was knowing when to let go. The emergency stairwell felt endless. Connor's burned shoulders screamed with each floor he climbed, but he didn't slow down. Above him, through gaps in the failing building, Emma's light pulsed like a dying star. 60 seconds. Riley's voice crackled through static. "Connor, where are you?" "Almost there." He crashed through a fire door onto the top floor. "Emma? Talk to me, kiddo." Her voice came not through the comms, but directly into his mind, accompanied by waves of silver light. "It's beautiful up here, Connor. I can see everything. All the connections. All the possibilities." He reached the broken window where Sterling's office had been. Emma floated 20 feet away, her small form almost transparent now, crackling with energy. Beside her, Jason hung suspended in a cocoon of light, his darkness slowly transforming into the same silver glow. "The others?" Connor asked, knowing he had to keep her focused, keep her human for just a little longer. Safe, free. Their implants are ready to overload, but safely now. When I channel the EMP, she turned to look at him and her eyes were galaxies. "It won't hurt them, I promised." 30 seconds, Riley warned. Sarah's voice cut through. "Emma, your readings. You're not just transcending, you're becoming something new," Emma finished. "It's okay. I understand now. This is what I was meant to." The air suddenly crackled with wrong energy. Sterling stood in the ruined doorway behind Connor, holding some kind of experimental weapon. Blood soaked his expensive suit, but his eyes burned with fanatic fire. "No one is meant to transcend without my permission," he snarled. "I created you. I own your evolution." The weapon hummed with building power. Connor didn't think. He moved, putting himself between Sterling and Emma. "Still trying to save everyone, firefighter?" Sterling laughed madly. "You don't understand. You can't stop transcendence. You can only control it." "You're wrong." Emma's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Connor taught me that. Humanity isn't something to evolve past. It's something to embrace." 10 seconds, Riley shouted. Sterling raised his weapon. "Then burn with your humanity." Time slowed. Connor saw Sterling's finger tighten on the trigger, saw Emma's light pulse brighter, saw Jason's cocoon begin to crack, and in that frozen moment he finally understood what Emma had known all along. Sometimes the fire had to burn, but what rose from the ashes, that was a choice. "Now," Emma whispered. The world turned silver. Silver light exploded outward from Emma's form, engulfing everything in its path. Connor felt it wash over him like a warm wave, carrying whispers of countless minds touching his own. Through the light, he saw Sterling's weapon disintegrate, saw the man himself fall to his knees, clutching his head as the truth of what he'd done crashed through his carefully constructed walls. "The EMP," Riley's voice seemed to come from very far away. She's containing it, channeling it through herself." In the center of the silver storm, Emma's form began to change. Her physical body turned translucent, energy coursing through her like lightning through crystal. Beside her, Jason's dark cocoon shattered completely, revealing his human form once more, unconscious but healing. "Connor!" Sarah's voice cut through the chaos. "The other children! Something's happening!" Through his newfound connection to the neural network, Connor could feel it. Every child Sterling had experimented on, every victim of Project Iris, Implants were burning out, but safely, controlled by Emma's power, freedom bought with transcendence. "Emma," he called out, fighting to reach her through the storm of light. "Hold on, we can still—" "It's okay." Her voice came from everywhere, layered with echoes of all the others she was saving. This was always how it had to end, how it had to begin. The silver light intensified, becoming almost solid. Through it, Connor caught glimpses of impossible things, other dimensions, parallel realities, the quantum foam of existence itself. Emma wasn't just transforming, she was becoming something reality was never meant to contain. "Look after them," her voice whispered in his mind. "Help them remember their humanity, like you helped me remember mine." The light reached a blinding crescendo. Connor felt reality flex and bend around them. In that final moment, Emma turned to him one last time, and through the transcendent energy, he saw her smile, just a little girl again, saying goodbye to someone she loved. Then everything went white. When the light faded, Connor found himself in what remained of Sterling's office, but reality had shifted. The walls rippled with quantum possibilities, each surface showing glimpses of what might have been, what could be. And in the center of it all, Sterling knelt, tears streaming down his face, as Emma's power forced him to confront the truth he'd buried beneath years of scientific rationalization. "I saw them," Sterling whispered. "All of them, every child, every experiment, every moment of pain I justified in the name of progress." He looked up at Connor with haunted eyes. "Do you know why I called it Project Iris? Because an iris controls how much light enters." Emma's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. "You thought you could control transcendence, control evolution itself." The air shimmered, and suddenly they were surrounded by holographic records, the true history of Project Iris playing out around them. Connor saw Sterling discovering the first signs of natural evolution in certain children, saw him twist that discovery into something monstrous. "They were already changing," Sterling continued, his voice hollow. "A new generation of humans, naturally, developing abilities we barely understood. I thought I could accelerate it, control it, own the next step of human evolution." "But you couldn't control it," Connor said, understanding finally clicking into place, "because it wasn't about power. It was about choice." The holograms shifted, showing Emma's first days in the program. Unlike the other subjects, she hadn't rejected the changes. She'd embraced them, but not as Sterling intended. Where he sought weapons, she found connections. Where he tried to force evolution, she let it flower naturally. She was perfect, Sterling laughed brokenly. The perfect bridge between human and transcendent. And I tried to turn her into a weapon. The building groaned around them, reality still unstable. Through the quantum flux, Connor could feel Emma's presence everywhere, holding the fabric of space-time together, even as she prepared to leave it behind. "The others," Connor demanded. "Tell me the truth. Will they survive?" "They're already changing," Emma's voice answered, "but slowly, naturally, as it was always meant to be." Her presence focused briefly, becoming almost visible. "Humanity isn't ready for forced transcendence, but it is ready to begin the journey, to make the choice." Sterling struggled to his feet. "Then all of this, everything I built, was never yours to control." Emma's voice held no anger now, only compassion. "The next step in human evolution isn't about power, Mr. Sterling. It's about connection. About choosing to become something more without losing what makes us human." The quantum distortions intensified. Connor could feel reality preparing for something momentous. "It's time," Emma said softly. "The EMP wave is contained. The children are free, and I have to go." "Emma," Connor started, but she cut him off with a wave of gentle energy. "Remember your promise," she whispered. "Help them choose their own paths. Help them remember their humanity. And Connor, thank you for running into the fire." The last thing Connor saw before reality reasserted itself was Emma's smile. not transcendent, not evolved. Just a little girl who'd learned that the greatest power wasn't in changing what you are, but in choosing who you become. Reality snapped back into focus with devastating force. The Neurotech building shuddered as Emma's power reached its peak, silver light pouring from every window, every crack, every seam in the structure. In the streets below, evacuated children looked up in awe as their savior prepared for her final transformation. Neural network disconnecting, Riley reported through the comms. All subjects' implants successfully neutralized. There, and they're free. Connor watched as Emma's form began to dissolve into pure energy. The air around her crackled with quantum possibilities, each molecule singing with newfound potential. This was transcendence, not as Sterling had imagined it, but as it was meant to be. A choice, a sacrifice, a gift. The containment fields are failing, Dr. Anders warned. The whole facility is going to... The building's superstructure groaned, beginning to fold in on itself. But this wasn't mere structural failure. Reality itself was bending, responding to Emma's transformation, as her human form finally dissolved. Completely, the silver light coalesced into something both beautiful and impossible, a door opening between what was and what could be. Through that door, Connor caught a glimpse of what Emma was becoming. Not a weapon, not even really an evolution. Something bigger, something that had always been waiting if humanity chose to reach for it. Sterling screamed as the light touched him, forcing him to see the same vision. No, this isn't how it was. Supposed to... The floor beneath them gave way. Connor grabbed a support beam as the office began to collapse, but Sterling tumbled toward the void. Without thinking, Connor reached for him. "Let me fall," Sterling shouted. "I deserve..." "That's not your choice to make," Connor grunted, holding on. Emma understood that. "Now it's your turn." As the building collapsed around them, Emma's light enveloped everything one last time. In that final moment, Connor felt her presence, not just her mind, but the minds of all the children she'd saved, all the futures she'd protected. A legacy, not of power, but of possibility. Then the light faded, and the heart of Project Iris crumbled into dust, taking its darkest secrets with it. But above the ruins, the Chicago sky shimmered with lingering silver light, a reminder that sometimes the most important fires were the ones that transformed rather than destroyed. Dawn broke over Chicago's skyline, illuminating the ruins of the Neurotech building. Emergency vehicles surrounded the site, their lights pale against the lingering silver shimmer in the air. On a nearby rooftop, Connor watched as Sarah and Dr. Anders tended to the freed children, each of them marked by a faint glow, Emma's final gift. "The news is already breaking," Riley said, showing him her tablet. Headlines screamed about corporate corruption, illegal experiments, and mysterious lights over the city. "Wong's evidence is hitting every major network. Sterling's entire empire is crumbling." "And Sterling," Connor asked, "in custody, along with most of his executive team?" Riley managed a tired smile. "Turns out, when your illegal research facility collapses in the middle of Chicago, it's hard to hide the evidence." Connor turned his attention to Jason, who sat quietly at the edge of the roof, staring at his hands. The darkness that had consumed him was gone, replaced by the same subtle silver light that marked all the children. Healing. Hope. "They'll need protection," Connor said. "All of them. Sterling wasn't the only one interested in weaponizing transcendence." "Already handled," Wong's voice came from behind them. The detective looked exhausted but satisfied. "Federal task force is taking over. Witness protection, new identities, the works. These kids deserve a chance at normal lives." Normal. Connor watched the sun rise over his city, remembering Emma's final words about choice and possibility. Maybe normal wasn't what these children needed. Maybe they needed something else, something new. "They'll need guides," he said finally. "People who understand what they've been through, people who can help them choose their own paths." Sarah joined. "Them, medical tablet in hand. Their powers are stabilizing. Whatever Emma did, she didn't just free them. She gave them control, a chance to grow into their abilities naturally. A second chance, Connor nodded, for all of us. Above them, the morning sky shimmered with lingering silver light, a reminder that some fires didn't destroy, they transformed. 1 month after the fall of Neurotech, Connor stood before the converted fire station. Engine 27's old brick walls now housed something new, a sanctuary for children learning to control abilities that the world wasn't quite ready to understand. Sarah emerged from the main entrance, clipboard in hand. "Jason's doing better, actually. Smiled today during group therapy." She glanced at the silver shimmer that still occasionally rippled through the air around the building. "They all are." Inside, Connor found Riley setting up a new computer lab designed to help the children understand and control their technological interfaces. Dr. Anders worked nearby, her guilt transformed into determination as she helped her. Former test subjects become students instead. The adoption papers came through, Wong announced, joining them. Legal identities, clean backgrounds, fresh starts. Sterling's assets are paying for all of it. Judge called it poetic justice. Connor watched through the window as the children played in the old training yard. Some showed obvious signs of their abilities. Floating objects, flickering lights, whispered conversations across impossible distances. But they were laughing, healing, choosing their own paths. "She would have loved this," Connor said softly, touching his old firefighter's badge. Above them, just for a moment, the air shimmered silver in response. 1 year to the day after Emma's transcendence, Connor stood in the garden behind Engine 27. The children had planted it themselves, normal flowers growing alongside ones that glowed with faint silver light, a perfect symbol of what the sanctuary had become. Jason approached, no longer the broken weapon Sterling had tried to create, but a mentor to the younger children learning to control their gifts. "They're ready for the ceremony," he said quietly. Inside, the old fire station's main bay had been transformed. Photos lined the walls. Emma's was central, surrounded by images of all those who'd been saved. Beneath them, a simple plaque read, "Sometimes a fire has to burn so new things can grow." Sarah, Riley, Dr. Anders and Wong joined Connor as the children gathered. Each child held a small light, their combined glow mixing with the silver shimmer that still lingered in the air around the sanctuary. Together, they had built something unique. Not the evolution Sterling had tried to force, but a bridge between what was and what could be. A place where extraordinary children could learn to be human first, heroes second. Connor touched his old badge one last time, remembering a small hand in his, a brave smile, a promise kept. Above them, the air shimmered with possibilities.